I do not want to get suckered into Khabib and GSP. So without falling for anything or even sharing with you guys my opinion on that, let's just look at the evidence that we have. Let's look at some rumors that we have. But that fight has been talked about for a while and was talked about by GSP, okay? Khabib was in a spot, and Khabib's in a little bit different spot right now than he was a month ago mentally with some of the things that he's saying. He is starting to make a little bit more demands. He's starting to appear that he's going to pine and use some of his perceived power at this point. And that's fine, but that is very fair by me to say that before he got in the ring with Conor, he sure seemed to be a little bit different mentally in terms of, I want to fight these guys, I want these opportunities, bring me anybody, just tell me when. Wasn't that the big quote? Just tell me when. So he was very open to fighting George St-Pierre. It was George that stuck his nose in this and said, I'm going to be taking a good look at this Conor and Khabib fight and see where this goes and maybe get myself involved. I personally interpreted that as George saying, if Conor wins, I will take on Conor. I just never thought that George was going to be all that interested in Khabib. It was a different matchup a month ago. And I'm not talking about physically, whether George would like that or wouldn't like that. What I'm talking about is Khabib's ability to draw. And that has changed. That has greatly changed. Khabib now, from being a well-respected, tough, undefeated fighter to being an all-around star that can move the needle, that has greatly changed in the last 30 days. So when you take a look at that fight, I just think it is a lot more likely to have George St-Pierre excited about that and willing to come to the table than it once was. I would also tell you this. If George is to come down to 155 pounds, don't forget, George St-Pierre never lost at 170 pounds. And anytime he didn't get his hand raised, he went out there and fixed it. Okay, when you go out there and fix it, when you do the rematch and you set the record straight, that's the way it works. You can go back with a little eraser and take that off. He never lost at 185 pounds. And you can say he only fought there once, and you would be correct. But he fought the world champion, okay? To act as though George can't pop down to 155 pounds if he chooses to make that weight cut. And don't forget about the politics of this. Sure, the UFC can say, man, we don't know. We want George to come in and cut the line. We don't know about this George St-Pierre business anymore because he's coming in, he's doing one-offs, he's screwing everything up. That's all very true. But to go back to my initial point of what a difference a day makes, okay? Khabib is in a different spot now than he was 30 days ago. But don't forget, so is everybody else. Khabib has to go before a commission in December. If you want to play this thing the right way, you bring as big of a fight that involves Khabib Nurmagomedov to the table as you possibly could, and you bring it before that day in December, and you say, we're going to put this in Nevada, by the way. So you guys decide how you want to play this, if you want to suspend this guy and take this fight away. But here's what we're willing to bring you. And there is nothing inappropriate about that. Look, anytime you're dealing with a commission, somebody has to pay a penance for bad actions, but there's a few ways to do that. Okay, you don't have to incarcerate them and throw them in behind a fence or into a cage. It's not that kind of a thing. It's a different commission. You can do, there's monetary ways to do it. You can do it through suspension. I think we're going to see both of them here. But you can also say, listen, let me pay this forward. I wasn't going to fight George St-Pierre, but now I will. Oh, and guess what? I'll also do it in your state. I will do everything right. I will follow all the rules. I'll take that suspension. But if you could just reduce it a little bit, I'll pay the money. I'll pay the fine. But if you could just give some consideration, and then I'll even offer you a third arm. I will come back and I will do everything right. That seems to make sense, and that seems to be fair to me. So in that scenario, and with all the pieces that we have, and all the pieces that need to come together, and all the balls that are in the air right now, and the moving parts that involve Khabib Nurmagomedov and his meeting in December, it would make a big level of sense that all of a sudden, if you could get George, that you get George.